Thank you. I turn it over to you.
Yes. You want to roll, Jill, for the informal?
I could. Is that okay? Mrs. Chilton,
Here.
Dr. Estrop, Mr. O'Neill,
Here.
Mr. Rue,
Here.
Mr. Copeland.
Here. Thank you, Commissioner. So tonight, we're here to talk to you about Tobacco 21 enforcement. And with us to do so is Logan Cobbs, the Deputy City Manager, and our Law Director, Jill Allen. And then also, I wanted to point out that Health Commissioner Charlie Patterson and Gracie Hemphill from the Health Department has joined us as well and would be available if there's specific questions about the enforcement that would come from the Health Department. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Logan and Jill.
Sounds good. Well, good evening, commissioners. As Brian stated, we are here today to talk about Tobacco 21 enforcement. I know we talked about this at length during retreat, so we will try to keep the introduction brief. So Tobacco 21. So Ohio's Tobacco 21 law went into effect in October of 2019. And this changed the legal age to buy, sell, or distribute tobacco to 21. So when we say tobacco, that means cigarettes, cigars, chewing tobacco, or electronic smoking devices like vape or e-cigs. Obviously, this law has always been in place, but without the enforcement piece, it won't have the desired effect.
So what we're proposing in our legislation tonight is going to be a proposal to our health code for a licensing application and for a structure that retailers within the city selling or distributing tobacco will have to acquire a license. There is an application fee of $150, which covers the administration of the program. This will not go into effect until January 1st. So that will actually allow us a little bit of time to be able to give some public awareness to this so that the community knows this will be something new we'll be implementing.
When we talk about public awareness, there'll also be a sign component. So signs will be made available by the health district for those licensees. The licensees must post these signs at the point of transaction. So that could be the cash register, the front counter, or display cases of where those tobacco products are. So it must be prominently displayed and not obscured. So we're not going to be hiding these signs. It is mandatory that they must be visible and present. What do the signs look like? I'm glad you asked. Here is a sample of what these signs would look like. Again, the health district will distribute these to the licensees.
So the goal of this legislation, part of it is to reduce or decrease youth access to tobacco products. So the illegal distribution is the largest concern for that. So the giving, selling, offering for sale or distribution of tobacco products or paraphernalia to anyone under 21 and failure to ID someone under the age of 21 with any kind of failure to ask for proof of identification. So this we typically think of as your state-issued driver's license, state-issued form of identification. The enforcement piece of this, it's going to be civil. It is a denial, suspension, or revocation of your license. The district may deny applications and recommend to the board that such license shall be suspended or revoked for failure to comply with legislation. Denied, suspended, or revoked applicants will be notified in writing.
Of enforcement, how are we going to enforce this? So inspections will happen at least once per calendar year. And then the penalty. So for the first violation, that's $500. Second and additional violations within 2 years of the first violations is $1,000. So again, I know Jill just made this comment, but this is a civil enforcement tool, so we're not going the criminal route with this legislation.
There is an appeal process too, so should any retail establishments decide they would like to appeal their license or feel that their license was incorrectly denied for whatever reasons, they have a process they can go through, a due process that is laid out in legislation. The appeals of denial, suspensions, revocation, or violation may be appealed to the board, and appeals can be heard by the board.
and written notice must be given to the health department within 15 days of the notice. So now we will open it up to questions. I know we went through that fairly quickly.
Okay, so we don't take questions from the audience, but we do have our health commissioner here. But commissioners, do you have any questions for anyone here regarding tobacco 21?
Just supportive of the effort to curb the illegal activity of tobacco use for our teens and our youth. And Joyce, I know that you have been involved with some of these committees to help see this through. So thank you for your effort in doing this, and thank you for the health department for bringing this before the community. It's important.
Thank you. I just wanted Commissioner Patterson just to comment for a moment on why we are doing this. If you would, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Chilton and Commissioners. The reason to do this is because obviously we have a great state law in place, but there is no local enforcement of that. And so many other cities, most of them larger than us, have stepped forward, like Columbus City, and they have a program in place just to help to keep this running at the local level and making sure people understand this. We don't want this to be a burden on our retailers. We want this to be a quick and easy thing so that they know that everyone gets ID'd and that we are not distributing these. At the end of the day, we're trying to curb tobacco use for our teenagers.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I had a question on the enforcement. Now, I'm under the impression the health department is going to be doing the enforcement of this?
That's correct.
Okay, so there's no law enforcement that's involved whatsoever?
No.
All right? Okay.
This legislation is a civil licensing structure. So there's already criminal enforcement available through the revised code for this since 2019. This is about the businesses having an education process and really curbing youth access and the ease of access from retailers.
This includes e-cigarettes and any kind of vaping products, because the whole point of this was to reduce tobacco smoking among teenagers. This is why I understand I've worked with this committee since like January of 2000.
And this is in the city of Springfield only, is that correct?
This
Correct.
legislation ordinances.
Yeah.
So I don't know about the county, if they have put anything into force or not, but I know that the deputies do check. Can you comment on that, please?
Yes, Vice Mayor. The county actually doesn't have the authority to make legislation as this. Actually, only the townships and the villages outside of the city limit. And then, of course, with this action, if the board decides to move forward with this, we will also be doing the same requests at the city of New Carlisle as well. But unfortunately, outside of the incorporated areas, it's very difficult. If we had an incorporated county like Summit County, we, of course, could talk with them to make a countywide mandate.
Is there going to be, if the person that's selling, you're going to hear this at some point, they didn't know that they had to have a license to do so. Is there going to be a forgiveness that they can come down and